Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show that's all about giving you a shortcut to being truly well-informed, slicing through the digital noise to bring you the most critical insights. And today, we are plunging headfirst into one of the most pressing, often overwhelming challenges facing every organization: cybersecurity. Think about it. Digital threats aren't just a distant headline anymore. They're a relentless, moving target. From highly sophisticated state-sponsored attacks that aim for our critical infrastructure to insidious ransomware campaigns that can cripple a small business overnight. How on earth does an organization, no matter its size or sector, even begin to build a robust, adaptable defense against that? It feels like trying to hit a moving target in the dark, doesn't it?
It absolutely can feel that way, and what's truly fascinating is that the answer isn't a rigid, prescriptive rulebook that tells you exactly what to do step by step. Instead, it's a flexible, adaptable blueprint. That blueprint is the NIST Cybersecurity Framework 2.0, or CSF 2.0, which was officially released by the U.S. National Institute of Standards and Technology in February 2024. Its core purpose is to cut through that complexity, providing a common language and, well, a strategic roadmap for digital resilience for all organizations, regardless of their size, their industry, or where they are on their cybersecurity journey.
So this deep dive is all about giving you the aha moments you need to understand this pivotal framework without the information overload. We're going to explore its remarkable journey, how it evolved from protecting critical infrastructure to becoming a universal guide. We'll dissect its innovative components, including the truly game-changing new govern function, unpack how it's being applied in the real world by everyone from energy giants to small retail firms, and even peer into its future trajectory. Our mission today is to equip you with the insights that will make you well-informed, capable of understanding and engaging with this crucial aspect of our digital world. So what does this all mean for you and the digital landscape we navigate every single day? Okay, let's unpack this. The CSF wasn't just some academic exercise or a spontaneous idea. It was a direct, urgent response to a clear and present national security imperative. Imagine the pressure on NIST, a government agency, to create something so vital, so foundational, and yet ensure it remained entirely voluntary. This is where it gets really interesting. Back in the early 2010s, the digital landscape was already, well, fraught with escalating cyber threats.
Yeah.
We were seeing a rise in sophisticated state-sponsored attacks attempting to infiltrate critical systems.
Right, alongside that frightening proliferation of ransomware that could hold entire networks hostage. It was a growing concern.
Exactly. This growing cyber insecurity compelled President Barack Obama to issue Executive Order 13636 on February 12, 2013. That order explicitly tasked NIST with developing a voluntary framework, initially focused on critical infrastructure sectors, think the power grid, our financial systems, healthcare networks. The goal was never a prescriptive one-size-fits-all solution, but a flexible guide that could be tailored to the diverse needs and specific contexts of these vital sectors.
And that emphasis on being voluntary and flexible was absolutely crucial to its initial adoption and success. When CSF 1.0 was finalized in February 2014, it wasn't the result of a closed-door committee. It was a profoundly collaborative process involving a huge array of stakeholders from industry, academia, and government. NIST engaged extensively through multiple requests for information RFIs and hosted 5 intensive workshops between April and November 2013, essentially crowdsourcing expertise and perspectives. This first version established what quickly became its iconic 5 core functions: identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. It was deliberately designed as a high-level taxonomy, a structured way of categorizing cybersecurity activities and outcomes, rather than a rigid checklist of technical controls. This approach allowed organizations to adopt it, adapt it, and feel empowered rather than constrained.
So it wasn't just handed down, it grew organically from a collaborative effort. That's a powerful start. And it sounds like NIST wasn't content to let it sit, right? There was a continuous cycle of engagement after 1.0.
Exactly. Following 1.0, NIST didn't stop. That vital stakeholder engagement continued, leading to the release of version 1.1 in April 2018. This wasn't a reinvention, but a significant enhancement. Key improvements included more detailed guidance on supply chain risk management, or SCRM, which was becoming an increasingly pressing concern.
SCRM, yeah, that makes sense. We hear about that all the time.
Right. They also clarified terminology and introduced clearer measurement approaches to help organizations gauge their progress. This update also strategically aligned the framework with the Cybersecurity Enhancement Act of 2014, which further solidified NIST's mandate and role in leading cybersecurity standards development for the nation.
Okay, so if 1.0 was the solid foundation and 1.1 was a really critical structural upgrade, Then 2.0, released in February 2024, sounds like a complete re-architecting. This wasn't just about minor tweaks, it was driven by a significantly changed threat landscape, particularly the explosion of sophisticated supply chain attacks like the infamous SolarWinds incident,
Yes, SolarWinds was a major wake-up call.
and a clear recognition that the framework's utility extended far beyond just critical infrastructure. It was like a testament to its own success. It had been so broadly adopted that NIST had to adapt the framework to embrace its universal appeal.
That's a brilliant way to put it. The evolution to CSF 2.0 truly signifies a maturation of the entire cybersecurity discipline, moving it beyond a purely technical domain. Risk management is no longer a niche IT concern. It is now recognized as a core business function for every organization. It's a profound shift, moving the CSF from what began as a government-led directive for a specific sector to a market-driven global standard. If we look at the key changes from 1.1 to 2.0, they really underscore this fundamental transformation.
Let's zoom in on those changes then. What truly marks the difference? What are the big shifts?
Well, the most immediate and telling change is the title itself. It shifted from Framework for Improving Critical Infrastructure Cybersecurity to simply Cybersecurity Framework.
Seems small, but I guess it signals a lot.
It signals everything. That subtle change is actually a huge signal. It officially acknowledges the framework's broader applicability. The scope broadened dramatically, moving from primarily critical infrastructure to all organizations, irrespective of their size, sector, or current maturity level. We also saw an expansion from 5 to 6 core functions with the addition of govern, which is a monumental inclusion that we'll definitely unpack in depth.
Right, the new govern function. We need to get into that.
Absolutely. Governance, which was previously somewhat embedded within the identify function, is now a dedicated overarching strategic component, elevating it to where it needs to be at the top. Supply chain risk management, which was a specific category under Identify in 1.1, now has significantly expanded guidance and is formalized as a critical category under the new govern function, reflecting its heightened importance in today's interconnected world. And to make it even more actionable, 2.0 introduced more practical examples and revised profiles, making it easier for organizations to implement.
So it's not just a refresh, it's really a rethink.
It's a deep philosophical one. It formally acknowledges the framework's widespread, organic adoption and strategically positions it as a universal lexicon, a common language for understanding and managing digital risk for anyone, from a small accounting firm to a global tech corporation. It empowers organizations to speak the same language when it comes to cyber risk.
So if CSF 2.0 is this new universal lexicon, how do organizations actually use it? You mentioned it's like building a house.
Yeah, that's a good analogy, I think.
You need a rock-solid foundation, a way to measure its structural integrity and ensure it meets safety standards, and then a custom blueprint tailored exactly to your needs, your style, your plot of land. That's exactly what the core, peers, and profiles do for cybersecurity. These three primary interconnected components, the framework core, implementation tiers, and profiles, don't operate in isolation. They work together holistically to give organizations a complete system for managing cybersecurity risk.
The framework core truly is that rock-solid foundation, providing a hierarchical taxonomy of cybersecurity outcomes. It's structured into 6 functions, each of which contains between 4 and 6 categories, which then break down into over 120 subcategories. You'll even find these thoughtfully color-coded in NIST's online tools for easy visualization and navigation. It helps make sense of it all.
And the really big news, the true architectural shift in CSF 2.0, is the introduction of that new overarching function, govern GV. This isn't just another function, it's a foundational layer that defines strategy from the top down. It feels like a long overdue acknowledgement that cybersecurity isn't just an IT problem, but a board-level imperative. It has to come from the top.
You've hit on something absolutely vital. This formal elevation of govern is genuinely a game changer. It directly addresses a critical gap in prior versions by formally elevating governance and leadership accountability to the strategic forefront. It ensures that cybersecurity isn't some separate, siloed technical initiative, but is deeply aligned with broader organizational objectives and seamlessly integrated into the enterprise's overall risk management framework, or ERM.
Can you give us an example of how this govern function truly changes the conversation? Before an IT team might report on, say, technical vulnerabilities. Now, how does GV change that?
Precisely. Before govern, maybe a hospital's IT security team saw their mission primarily as keeping systems running or patching vulnerabilities, pretty technical stuff. But GVOC01, for instance, forces them to explicitly connect that technical work directly to the hospital's overarching mission, Maybe it's saving lives or providing excellent patient care. So a cyber incident isn't just a system outage. It's a direct threat to patient care, to patient safety, and potentially to the hospital's reputation and financial viability. That's a very different conversation.
Okay, that shift in perspective, tying security directly to the mission, that feels like a really crucial insight into modern risk management.
It is. It bridges that long-standing communication gap between technical teams and executive leadership. It provides a structured way to translate highly technical requirements and vulnerabilities into clear business risks and opportunities. It forces a top-level discussion about risk appetite, strategic investment, and organizational resilience. It's about moving cybersecurity from a cost center that merely reacts to threats to a core business enabler that proactively manages risk and protects value. And this function has 6 absolutely critical categories that help make this happen. Organizational context, GVOC. This is where an organization defines its mission, its core business objectives, understands stakeholder expectations, think customers, regulators, employees, and identifies all relevant legal and regulatory requirements. For example, GVOC-01 ensures that the organization's mission and strategic goals directly inform its cybersecurity risk management decisions.
So for like a hypothetical growing tech company, let's call them Apex Innovations, this would mean understanding their mission is delivering cutting-edge AI software.
Exactly. So protecting their intellectual property and customer data becomes paramount, impacting every cybersecurity decision they make. And GVOC-03 ensures that legal requirements like GDPR or HIPAA, depending on their operations, are actively managed and woven into their security posture. Risk management strategy, GVRM. Once you understand your context, you then establish clear cybersecurity objectives, define your organization's risk appetite. How much risk are you willing to accept to achieve your business goals? And tolerance levels. GVRM-02, for instance, focuses on maintaining clear, documented risk appetite statements that guide decision-making at every level. And GVRM-04 is all about clearly defining the options available for responding to risks. Are you going to accept it, avoid it, mitigate it, or perhaps transfer it through insurance? This clarity helps avoid reactive, ad hoc responses when something happens.
Having those options defined upfront seems critical. Roles, responsibilities, and authorities, GVRR. This category is all about clear accountability. It mandates defining who's responsible for what, from the C-suite down to the individual employee.
GVRR-01 emphasizes leadership accountability, ensuring that cybersecurity isn't just delegated to IT, but that executives own their role in setting the tone and ensuring resources. GVRR-03 focuses on allocating necessary resources, people, budget, technology for effective risk management. You can't just say it's important, you have to fund it. Policy, GVPO. This involves establishing, communicating, and consistently enforcing cybersecurity policies across the entire organization. GV.POL1 ensures these policies are directly based on the overall cybersecurity strategy established in GVRM, making sure they're not just arbitrary rules, but strategic tools. GV.POL4 mandates regular monitoring and auditing of policy enforcement because a policy is only as good as its implementation, right?
Right. Policies gathering dust on a shelf don't help anyone. Oversight, GVOV. This is a crucial feedback loop. It focuses on continuously reviewing and adjusting the strategic direction based on performance outcomes and changes in the threat landscape.
As seen in GVOV-01, strategy adjustments are made based on the effectiveness of implemented controls and the evolving risk profile, ensuring the organization remains agile and responsive. It's not set it and forget it. And critically, cybersecurity supply chain risk management, GVSC. This is a massively significant addition, recognizing that an estimated 0% of all cyber breaches now involve a third party or vulnerability within the supply chain.
70%. Wow. That's staggering.
It really is. So GVSC-01 ensures that an SCRM program is formally established, not just informally handled. GVSC-05 focuses on regularly assessing supplier risks, which means vetting your vendors and partners just as carefully as you secure your internal systems. For our Apex Innovations example, this means ensuring that the third-party cloud provider storing their customer data meets their high security standards, because a breach at the provider is a breach for Apex. It's all connected.
That's a powerful and comprehensive new layer. It really emphasizes the strategic role of leadership in that whole ecosystem view. But with Governor Wren laying the strategic groundwork, the framework still retains those 5 foundational functions that have been central since its inception, right? These are more like the active cycle of cybersecurity, the practical day-to-day activities that translate that strategic vision into tangible defense.
Exactly. While Govern sets the strategic compass, these next 5 functions are where the rubber truly meets the road. where strategy translates into daily action. They are deeply interconnected, constantly feeding into and supporting each other, forming a holistic, living view of risk. They're not linear steps you complete once and forget. They're an ongoing cycle. Let's run through them. 1. Identify, ID. Understanding the enterprise context and risks. This function is all about developing a deep, granular understanding of cybersecurity risks to your systems, your people, your assets, and your data. It's the critical first step, knowing what to protect, where it is, and why it matters. Key categories here include asset management, IDAM, which means you need a comprehensive, up-to-date inventory of all your hardware, software, and data assets, IDAM-01, and you need to prioritize which assets are most critical to your mission, IDAM-04.
So for Apex Innovations, this isn't just knowing they have 50 servers, it's understanding which servers host the proprietary AI algorithms versus, say, internal HR systems.
Precisely. Then there's risk assessment, IDRA, which involves proactively identifying vulnerabilities, IDRA-01, in your systems and determining the potential impacts of various threats, IDRA-06. What happens if this critical data is breached? What's the business impact? Finally, improvement, IDRM, ensures that you're regularly evaluating your risk management activities and identifying gaps from those evaluations, ID.IM01, so you can continuously refine your understanding, always getting better. 2. Protect, PR. Implementing proactive safeguards. Okay, so once you know what you need to protect and why, this is about putting those proactive safeguards in place. It's implementing controls to ensure the delivery of critical services and limit the impact of potential cybersecurity events. It's the defensive component. Categories include identity management, authentication, and access control, PRAA, which covers everything from managing user identities securely, PRA-01, to strictly enforcing the principle of least privilege.
Least privilege, meaning users only have access to what they absolutely need to do their job.
Exactly that, PRAA-05. Think multi-factor authentication for Apex employees accessing sensitive code. Awareness and training, PRAT, focuses on ensuring all personnel receive regular awareness training, APRAT-01, because humans are often the weakest link, unfortunately.
Or the first line of defense, depending how you look at it.
Good point. Data security, PRDS, involves protecting data both at rest and in transit, PRDS-01, and using techniques like de-identification for privacy, PRDS-06, where appropriate. Platform security, PRPS, ensures that all configurations are managed securely from the start, PRPS-01. Technology infrastructure resilience, PRIR, is about building in redundancy for availability, PRIR-01, so systems don't completely crash if one component fails. And resilient configuration management, PRM, establishes secure baselines for all systems, PRR-01, to prevent configuration drift that could introduce vulnerabilities over time. 3. Detect, DE. Ensuring continuous vigilance. This function is all about constant awareness. It's the timely discovery and analysis of cybersecurity events and potential compromises. It's continuous vigilance for those early warnings that something might be amiss. Categories include continuous monitoring, DECM, covering constant network monitoring, DECM-01, for unusual activity, and establishing baselines for anomaly detection, DECM-07, so you can spot things that don't look right.
Like, is someone trying to access Apex's critical code repository at 3 a.m. from a foreign IP address? That kind of thing?
Exactly that kind of thing. Adverse event analysis, DEAE, focuses on thoroughly investigating any events that are flagged, DER1, to understand their nature and potential impact. Is it a real threat or just noise? 4. Respond, RS, orchestrating an effective incident response. Okay, so despite your best efforts, an incident has been detected. This function covers all the activities taken after detection to contain its impact, eradicate the threat, and facilitate recovery. It's about having clear, actionable plans ready to go. Categories include incident planning, RSPL, which means you've got a well-developed, tested response plan, RSPL-01, for various scenarios, ransomware, data breach, denial of service, etc.
Practice makes perfect, or at least less chaotic.
Definitely. Communications, RSCO, ensures effective coordination with both internal and external stakeholders during an incident. RSCO-01, from your board to law enforcement if needed. Analysis, RSEM, means every incident is thoroughly analyzed, RSAM-01, to understand its root cause and scope. How did they get in? What did they access? Mitigation, RSMI, involves taking immediate containment actions, RSA-01, to stop the spread and minimize damage. And crucially, improvements, RSAM, ensures that lessons learned from every incident are incorporated back into your plans and defenses, RSAM-01, don't make the same mistake twice. 5. Recover, RCAC, restoring and sustaining resilience. This final function identifies the activities needed to restore any capabilities or services impaired due to an incident, with the goal of ensuring a timely return to normal resilient operations. Recovery planning, RCRP, develops robust recovery strategies, RCRP 001, ensuring you know exactly how to rebuild or restore systems and data from backups or redundant systems. Improvements, RCM, similar to Respond, focuses on incorporating post-event enhancements, RCM M01, to strengthen your resilience against future attacks. What could we do better next time? And communications, RCCO, ensures that recovery status is shared appropriately with all relevant parties, RCCO 01, to manage expectations and coordinate efforts during the recovery phase.
That paints a much clearer picture of the dynamic interplay. It's clear that these functions are not just a sequential checklist where you finish one and move to the next, but an interconnected ecosystem. Govern sets the tone and strategic direction. Identify tells you what to protect, puts on the defenses, detect, watches over them, respond, reacts when something goes wrong, and recover gets you back on your feet.
With every step informing and strengthening the others, it's a continuous living cycle.
Exactly.
So we have the what's of cybersecurity with the core, but this raises an important question. How do you, as an organization, know where you stand in terms of your overall cybersecurity posture? How mature are your processes? And perhaps even more importantly, how do you communicate that status effectively to someone who might not speak cybersecurity fluently, say your board of directors or maybe a potential investor? It's hard to translate technical jargon. This is precisely where the implementation tiers truly shine. They provide a high-level, non-technical vocabulary that enables a meaningful discussion about cybersecurity maturity. The tiers provide context on the rigor and sophistication of an organization's cybersecurity risk management practices. It's not a pass-fail grade. Rather, it's a progressive scale designed to communicate where an organization is and where it aspires to be. The CSF defines 4 such tiers. Tier 1, partial. This describes an organization that's largely reactive, unstructured, and often operates on an ad hoc basis. Cybersecurity efforts at this level are often disconnected from broader business risk management. Awareness of cyber risks is limited, and they typically only respond to threats after they've occurred. Imagine Apex Innovations in its very early startup days, perhaps just putting out fires as they come up with a heightened vulnerability because they're always playing catch-up.
Always behind the curve. Tier 2, risk-informed. Here, organizations are beginning to develop some initial structure and awareness. Practices might be approved by leadership, but their implementation can still be inconsistent across departments.
There's a partial alignment with business risk, indicating a more structured approach than Tier 1, but it's not yet fully integrated into the enterprise's strategic thinking. They're starting to build a basic fire prevention plan, maybe, but it might not be fully consistent across all buildings or teams.
Getting there, but maybe not quite there yet. Tier 3, repeatable. This tier signifies a much more formalized and consistent program. Cybersecurity processes are clearly defined, meticulously documented, and consistently applied across the organization.
There's a clear understanding of cyber risk across different departments, and the cybersecurity strategy is fully integrated into enterprise risk management. This reflects a structured, proactive, and predictable approach. This is where Apex Innovations would be developing consistent security protocols, conducting regular training, and having clear, practiced incident response plans. Things are running smoothly, predictably. Tier 4. Adaptive. This is the pinnacle of proactive, continuously improving security. Organizations at this tier are fully integrated and adaptive, not just reacting to threats, but often anticipating them. They leverage predictive analysis, continuously enhance their security posture based on real-time threat intelligence, and actively collaborate with external partners to stay ahead of the curve. They embody an agile, threat-informed, and highly resilient approach. They're not just preventing fires, they're designing buildings that are fireproof and have sensors that predict where a fire might start before it even sparks. They're learning and evolving constantly.
That sounds like the gold standard.
It is, but
That's a great distinction. It's not about achieving Tier 4 for everyone, is it? It's about finding the right tier for your specific context, your budget, your risks.
precisely. The crucial point about these tiers is that the goal isn't always to reach Tier 4 immediately or even necessarily at all. The aim is to achieve the appropriate tier for your specific risk environment, your regulatory requirements, and your mission objectives. For a small business, Tier 2, or maybe even a solid Tier 3, might be perfectly adequate and cost-effective. For a critical infrastructure provider handling sensitive data or operations, Tier 4 might be a non-negotiable imperative. This component is incredibly powerful because it allows senior executives, managers, and even practitioners to engage in a meaningful dialogue about risk appetite and to justify security investments by demonstrating progress along a clear, shared maturity continuum.
But it helps get budget approval.
It definitely helps make the case. It helps shift cybersecurity from being seen as just a reactive cost center to a strategic enabler of business resilience. It makes those conversations with the board about budget and risk much more concrete and defensible. Being at Tier 1 means you're constantly putting out fires. Tier 3 means you're preventing them. And you can clearly show your board why your investments are paying off and why you might need more to reach, say, Tier 4, if that's the goal.
Okay, so the framework core gives us the outcomes we need, and the tiers help us understand how mature we are. But how do organizations really make this framework personal? How do they craft a roadmap specific to their unique situation, their unique house, if you will? You mentioned profiles earlier.
Right. That's where profiles and gap analysis come in.
Yeah.
These are the practical mechanisms for tailoring the framework core to an organization's specific mission, its business objectives, and its individual risk appetite. They essentially transform the theoretical framework into actionable, highly personalized roadmaps.
So how does that work, practically speaking?
Absolutely. The foundation of this practical process involves creating two distinct profiles. It's a comparison, really.
Okay.
Current profile. This is your as-is state. It's a comprehensive snapshot of the cybersecurity outcomes an organization is currently achieving. You map your existing practices, your current policies, and all your implemented controls directly to the subcategories of the framework core. It requires a thorough, honest assessment of your existing security posture without sugarcoating anything. For Apex Innovations, this would mean looking at every piece of their current security tech and every process they follow and seeing how it measures up against the CSF subcategories. Where are we really today? Target profile. This is your to-be state. It outlines the desired cybersecurity outcomes based on your strategic goals, your defined risk tolerance, and your business priorities. You're also looking ahead here, considering anticipated changes, the adoption of new technologies, and the ever-evolving threat landscape. This is where Apex would say, given our growth plans and new AI projects, where do we want to be in terms of security maturity in the next 12, 18 months? What's our goal?
Okay, so you have the now and the future. Then what?
By comparing these two profiles, the current and the target an organization then conducts what's called a gap analysis. This process clearly identifies any deficiencies, any areas where your current state falls short of your desired state, and highlights opportunities for improvement. This gap analysis then forms the basis for a prioritized action plan to address those identified gaps. What do we need to do to get from here to there?
And NIST, being NIST, doesn't just leave you hanging to figure out how to do this. They even provide a structured 7-step implementation process for this, which sounds incredibly helpful for making it actionable. It's not just theory.
It is, and it's designed as a continuous, iterative cycle, not a one-off project that you complete and then forget about. It's truly a living process. 1. Prioritize and scope. You start by clarifying your strategic business goals and defining what's truly critical to your organization. What systems, data, and business functions, if disrupted by a cyber incident, would cause the most significant harm. For Apex, it's their core AI intellectual property and customer data, maybe not necessarily the office Wi-Fi password. Focus on what matters most.
Makes sense. Start with the crown jewels. 2. Orient. Next, you gain a deep understanding of the systems and processes that fall within that defined scope. You document your existing risk management practices and identify all relevant legal, regulatory, and contractual requirements that apply to your operations. What are the rules we have to follow? 3. Create a current profile. This is where you map your current cybersecurity practices and existing controls to the framework core. This step provides that clear, honest picture of your as-is state using the CSF's common language. 4. Conduct a risk assessment. This step formalizes your understanding of the threats, vulnerabilities, and dependencies that could impact your critical assets. It helps you confirm your current state and pinpoint potential disruptions with greater clarity. What could actually go wrong? 5. Create a target profile. Based on the insights from your risk assessment and your strategic business goals, you then define your desired cybersecurity outcomes. You select the specific categories and subcategories from the core that you need to achieve an acceptable level of risk, and you also choose your target implementation tier. Where do we need to be? 6. Determine, analyze, and prioritize gaps. This is the heart of the gap analysis. You rigorously compare your current and target profiles to identify and then rank the deficiencies based on their urgency and potential impact to your mission. This prioritization is absolutely crucial for effective resource allocation. You can't fix everything at once, so you tackle the biggest risks first. 7. Implement an action plan. The final step is to build and execute a prioritized plan to address the identified gaps. This might involve implementing new controls, changing internal processes, investing in new technology, or enhancing training.
But crucially, you also establish mechanisms to continuously monitor progress and adapt as threats evolve. It's an ongoing effort.
That sounds incredibly robust. This process isn't just a technical checklist. It's truly a strategic management framework. It forces a comprehensive conversation between IT and business leaders, making absolutely sure that security investments aren't just technical expenditures, but are strategically aligned with mission-critical assets and broader business objectives. It's about viewing cybersecurity as a strategic enabler of the business, not just a necessary cost center.
It absolutely is. And beyond individual organizational profiles, there's another powerful tool in the CSF 2.0 ecosystem, community profiles.
Community profiles, what are those?
These are shared baseline profiles that have been developed and published by groups of organizations for specific sectors, technologies, or common threat types. For instance, the Cyber Risk Institute has created a robust one specifically for the financial sector. NIST itself has one for manufacturing. There are profiles explicitly for managing ransomware risks, for securing cloud computing environments developed by the Cloud Security Alliance.
Oh, so you don't have to start from scratch if you're in one of those areas.
Exactly. And even for critical infrastructure subsectors like electric vehicles and hybrid satellite networks, these community profiles are incredibly valuable because they save individual organizations significant time and effort, help them align with industry norms and best practices, and foster a shared understanding of common risks and solutions within a particular domain. It's like getting a head start based on collective wisdom.
So we've walked through the blueprint, understood the foundation, the core, the tiers, the profiles, and even thought about the maturity levels. But now, what does this all mean for you in practice? How do organizations actually put this comprehensive framework to work in the real world, and what hurdles do they encounter along the way? It's one thing to read about a framework, but quite another to implement it effectively within a dynamic, complex organization. It's going to be tough sometimes. Hashtag tag 3.1. Common implementation challenges and practical solutions.
You're right, implementation is where the rubber meets the road, and it certainly comes with its own set of challenges despite the framework's inherent flexibility. One of the biggest is the sheer complexity and scope. With over 120 subcategories, an organization like our Apex Innovations, even with its technical prowess, might find it overwhelming to figure out exactly where to begin. It's a lot to digest initially.
And I imagine this is particularly acute for smaller organizations. Less staff, less budget.
Absolutely. Another major hurdle, especially for small and medium-sized enterprises, or SMEs, is limited resources. They often face staffing shortages, maybe only one or two IT generalists wearing multiple hats, a lack of specialized cybersecurity knowledge, and significant financial constraints that make investing in enterprise-grade security solutions difficult. Then there's cultural resistance, fostering awareness, educating employees, and achieving organization-wide buy-in for new security protocols isn't always easy. People are naturally resistant to change,
We've always done it this way.
Exactly that mentality. We also frequently see metrics gaps, where it's hard to translate highly technical data like firewall logs or vulnerability scan results into meaningful business risk that executives can understand and act upon. And as you mentioned earlier, the subjectivity in the tiers can sometimes lead to inconsistent assessments if not applied carefully. We need a common understanding of what Tier 3 actually means for us. And of course, integrating the framework with technical complexity, particularly legacy systems that might not be easily updated, or dealing with a general lack of automation and an over-reliance on manual processes, can slow things down considerably and introduce human error. Lots of spreadsheets, maybe.
Those sound like significant, very real roadblocks, but what are some practical, actionable ways organizations are actually overcoming them? Because the goal here is to get past the theory and into successful practice. How do they make it work?
There are absolutely proven strategies that make a tangible difference. For instance, to combat the perceived complexity and scope, a phased rollout is often highly recommended. Organizations can prioritize starting with high-impact functions like identify and protect first, getting those foundational elements solid before moving on. Don't try to boil the ocean. Critically, NIST itself provides excellent quick start guides specifically designed for small businesses to ease them into the framework without overwhelming them. They recognize the SME challenge.
That's good. Taylor, help.
For organizations grappling with technical complexity, especially when dealing with legacy systems, a smart approach is to leverage mappings to existing controls. If you're already using something like ISO 27001 or COBIT, you can map your current controls to the CSF, avoiding the need to reinvent the wheel entirely. Cultural resistance can be effectively mitigated through robust and continuous awareness and training PRAT programs, turning employees from potential weakest links into active participants in the security posture.
Maybe make it engaging. For Apex innovations, this might mean gamified training modules instead of dry, hour-long presentations nobody pays attention to.
Exactly. Make it stick. To address those tricky metrics gaps, while the tiers provide a high-level maturity tracking mechanism, organizations are increasingly looking to more sophisticated tools. We're even seeing active discussions around how AI tools could help with that crucial metrics to meaning translation, turning raw data into actionable insights for leadership, bridging that gap. Securing genuine leadership buy-in is paramount. Framing cybersecurity as a strategic asset that protects and enables business, rather than just an unavoidable cost, can unlock crucial resources and set the right tone. And finally, investing in automation tools for tasks like continuous monitoring, vulnerability scanning, and data collection can significantly increase efficiency, reduce manual effort, and improve the long-term effectiveness of the security program. It makes tasks like conducting annual GVSCO5 supply chain risk assessments much more manageable and consistent, rather than a frantic year-end scramble.
Okay, that gives us some concrete strategies. But it's one thing to talk about frameworks and strategies in theory, but where do we see this making a tangible difference on the ground? Where has CSF 2.0 or its incredibly robust predecessors like 1.1 truly delivered real-world impact? Give us some stories. Show us the proof.
The impact is clear and compelling across a surprising variety of sectors, showcasing the framework's flexibility and power. Take the energy sector, for example. A major U.S. utility leveraged CSF 1.1 to meticulously map their existing controls. This rigorous application helped them reduce their breach risks by a reported 40%, a massive achievement for an organization managing critical infrastructure. That's a huge number.
50%, that's significant.
Absolutely. And post 2.0 adoption, they strategically integrated the new govern function specifically for board-level reporting, directly addressing crucial lessons learned from high-profile incidents like the Colonial Pipeline attack. This allowed their executives to have a clearer, more strategic conversation about resilience, often complemented by NIST's specialized ESC2M2 framework, which is tailored for energy sector cybersecurity maturity.
Okay, energy makes sense. What about other areas, like healthcare? Tons of sensitive data there.
Definitely. In healthcare, a large hospital chain faced the monumental challenge of protecting incredibly sensitive patient data from ever-increasing threats, especially ransomware. They implemented CSF profiles to tailor their security strategy, achieving Tier 3 maturity in the detect function primarily through continuous monitoring of their networks and systems, always watching. When they unfortunately suffered a significant ransomware attack, their robust implementation of the recover function was pivotal. According to a 2023 case study, their well-practiced recovery strategies and clear communication protocols help them cut their system downtime by an impressive 50%.
50% faster recovery. That's huge for patient care.
Huge. It minimized disruption to patient care dramatically. This also highlighted how effectively the CSF can integrate with other crucial compliance standards like HIPAA in the healthcare space. Then we have academic and financial institutions. The University of Chicago, for instance, leveraged the CSF's structured phases, from current state assessment to roadmap development, to significantly enhance their supply chain risk management. Benefiting from the SCRM updates in 1.1, and now extending this to 2.0, they improved vendor vetting, contract negotiations, and third-party risk assessments. This led to far better stakeholder communication and significantly stronger governance across their entire institution, protecting not just their data, but their extensive research networks.
Manufacturing, too. That seems like a very different environment.
It is, and it's a sector undergoing rapid digitalization, making it a prime target. The CSF is proving invaluable there as well. A sector-specific semiconductor profile, expected in 2025, is leveraging NIST IR 8546 to map the CSF directly to the unique risks of that industry. Think intellectual property theft, supply chain integrity. This is helping global firms like Intel manage their incredibly complex, geographically dispersed supply chains amidst escalating geopolitical threats and sophisticated espionage attempts. It provides a common language for a very complex ecosystem.
What about the little guys, the small businesses? Can they really use this?
Yes, absolutely. It's not just for the giants. For small businesses, consider a local retail firm initially overwhelmed by cybersecurity. They use the CSF Quick Start Guide to achieve Tier 2 maturity. By focusing on practical steps, they specifically implemented the Protect Functions identity management, authentication, and access control (PRA) elements. Things like stronger passwords, multi-factor authentication, basic but crucial stuff. This targeted effort alone led to a reported 30% reduction in phishing incidents, which is a common and often devastating attack vector for small businesses. So real impact even on a smaller scale.
That's great to hear. Any government examples?
Indeed. Across the Atlantic, the government of Bermuda faced inconsistent cybersecurity risk management across its various ministries and departments. Sound familiar?
Very common problem in large organizations.
Right. They adopted the CSF for comprehensive self-assessments, which helped them clearly identify gaps and develop a prioritized action plan. The result was a standardized, consistent approach to risk management across the entire government, leading to regular, clear reports to cabinet that function as a unified security dashboard, better aligning security investments with critical government services. Consistency was key.
And maybe one more large enterprise example.
Sure. SAP, the global enterprise software company, embarked on a multi-year CSF implementation, a massive undertaking mandated right from their executive board. They approached it with a phased strategy, including initial assessments, pilot programs in key divisions, and then a carefully planned global rollout. This disciplined approach allowed them to achieve Tier 3 maturity ahead of schedule, fundamentally improving their understanding of organizational risks, significantly strengthening their governance posture, and fostering increased collaboration between their historically separate IT and business teams. That last point is a real testament to the governance function's power. Even before it was officially called out in 2.0, it forces those conversations.
Wow. Those diverse examples really highlight the framework's remarkable adaptability and its tangible, measurable benefits across pretty much any type of organization you can think of. That's a powerful collection of success stories. But it's a crowded landscape out there in the world of cybersecurity frameworks. We hear about ISO, CIS, NIST 853. So how does NIST CSF 2.0 stack up against other big players? Are we talking about direct competitors, or do they complement each other? It can be confusing for organizations trying to decide which one or which ones to adopt.
That's an excellent and very common question, as there's often a lot of overlap and, frankly, confusion. The NIST CSF 2.0 really distinguishes itself primarily by its focus on risk outcomes and its inherently low prescriptiveness. This means it's voluntary, highly adaptable, and incredibly effective for risk communication across all sectors. It tells you what you need to achieve in terms of security outcomes, the what, not necessarily the specific how to do it. This gives you the flexibility to choose the best tools and methods for your specific environment, your budget, your existing technology.
Okay, so outcome-focused and flexible. How does that compare directly to, say, ISO 27001?
Good question. Let's look at a quick comparison to clarify, maybe in a sort of table in our minds. NIST CSF 2.0 focuses on risk outcomes, low prescriptiveness, voluntary, best for all sectors, and especially strong for strategic risk communication. ISO 20001 focuses on information security management systems, ISMS certification, medium prescriptiveness, specific controls are required for certification, ideal for global compliance needs and formal audits, CIS controls, focuses on actionable, prioritized safeguards, currently 18 controls, highly prescriptive in terms of what technical controls to implement, excellent for practical, prioritized implementation, especially for foundational security. NIST 853 focuses on a comprehensive catalog of security and privacy controls for federal systems, very high prescriptiveness, over 800 controls, mainly for U.S. government systems and contractors, or highly regulated industries adopting it.
Okay, that helps frame it. You mentioned NIST 853. People often get CSF and 853 confused. Could you clarify that relationship?
It's absolutely critical to clarify the complementary relationship between NIST CSF 2.0 and NIST SP 853. They are often confused, but are in fact hierarchical and deeply complementary. They work together. Think of it this way. CSF 2.0 is like the architect's overall vision for your dream home. It defines the style, the number of rooms, the desired feel of resilience, the strategic what and why of the project. It's about setting your strategic vision for cybersecurity, facilitating that vital C-suite dialogue about overall risk posture and investment. SP 853, on the other hand, is the contractor's incredibly detailed blueprint, listing every nail, every wire gauge, every specific building code, over 800 distinct controls to ensure that dream home is structurally sound and meets all safety regulations. It's the granular, technical how-to for implementing specific controls.
So CSF is the strategy. 853 is the detailed tactics for implementing specific parts of that strategy, especially in federal context.
Exactly. An effective cybersecurity program will strategically use the CSF for its high-level vision and risk prioritization, and then draw upon 853 or other specific standards like CIS controls or ISO controls for the detailed execution and operationalization of those controls. They serve different but related purposes.
Got it. And how about CSF versus ISO 27001? You mentioned certification.
Right. ISO 27001 focuses on establishing and certifying an information security management system, ISMS. The CSF doesn't offer a direct certification itself, however, it maps incredibly well with about 90% alignment to ISO standards. While ISO is globally recognized and excellent for formal audits and demonstrating global compliance through certification, the CSF is often preferred by U.S. firms that need global alignment but maybe don't need the formal certification immediately. CSF is particularly strong for internal risk prioritization and communication within the U.S. context. Many organizations use them together. CSF for the strategic what and risk communication, ISO for the certifiable how and demonstrating compliance globally.
And the CIS controls. They seem more technical, more hands-on.
They are. The CIS controls offer 18 prioritized and actionable safeguards, often seen as a practical starting point for cybersecurity hygiene. Very concrete actions. The CSF is generally higher level and outcome focused, but they align very closely. Many organizations effectively use CIS controls as an invaluable, informative reference for implementing the more granular subcategories within the CSF. Think of CIS controls as providing some excellent examples of how you might achieve a specific CSF outcome, especially in the protect and detect areas.
And there are others too, like HITRUST for healthcare.
Yes, briefly, frameworks like HITRUST are tailored specifically for healthcare organizations, offering a comprehensive certifiable framework built upon many others, including CSF and HIPAO. And COBIT is more broadly governance-focused, providing an enterprise-wide framework for IT governance and management, which CSF can fit within. The CSF's enduring strength lies in its adaptability and its ability to integrate and work alongside these other specialized frameworks rather than competing directly with them. It allows organizations to build a truly robust and layered defense using the CSF as that strategic overlay. #4. Critiques, limitations, and the future trajectory of CSF post-2025.
Fascinating. So it's less about choosing one single framework and more about understanding how they fit together, often with the CSF acting as that strategic umbrella or common language. But, no framework is perfect, no matter how well designed or widely adopted. While the CSF is an incredibly powerful tool, it's important we also acknowledge its limitations and look at where it's headed next. What are some of the areas where it still faces criticism, or where organizations might struggle even with version 2.0? ## 4.1. Critiques and limitations.
That's a really critical point. Even with CSF 2.0, there are valid and ongoing critiques. One common point of discussion is its inherent lack of specificity in certain areas. While the subcategories define desirable outcomes, they don't provide prescriptive how-to instructions. For example, it doesn't explicitly detail exactly how an organization should address specific, rapidly evolving threats from advanced AI models or emerging quantum computing capabilities. It tells you the goal, not the precise path. This flexibility, while a strength because it allows for broad applicability, can also be a challenge for organizations that lack deep in-house expertise and are looking for concrete, step-by-step instructions. They might know the what, manage AI risks, but struggle with the specific how.
So a smaller organization like our Apex Innovations, even if they're tech-savvy, might find itself needing external expertise or other more prescriptive guidance to translate those high-level outcomes into specific technical actions.
Exactly. Which ties directly into another significant limitation: resource intensity. While designed for all organizations, small and medium-sized enterprises often face considerable implementation barriers. This is often due to those staffing shortages we talked about. Maybe they have one IT person covering multiple roles, a lack of specialized cybersecurity knowledge, and often significant financial constraints. Implementing comprehensive security based on CSF outcomes takes time and money. Analyses from 2025 have consistently highlighted these struggles for SMEs. A 2023 Lawfare review even specifically noted the framework's potential insufficiency for under-resourced sectors like K-12 education, which often lack the budgets and dedicated personnel to fully engage with its comprehensive nature.
That's a tough reality. What about keeping pace with new threats?
That's another area of evolving threats. Despite continuous updates, potential gaps remain in explicitly addressing truly rapidly emerging risks, like sophisticated AI-driven social engineering attacks or the long-term threat of quantum computing breaking current encryption standards. The pace of technological change is relentless, and any framework will inherently lag slightly behind the absolute bleeding edge of threats. And finally, the metrics subjectivity in the tiers can be a limitation. They provide excellent high-level communication, that common language we discussed, but can sometimes lack truly quantifiable objective benchmarks. This can lead to inconsistent assessments across different organizations or even within the same organization over time, if not applied with clear internal definitions. X threads from 2025 frequently emphasize this metrics to meaning gap. How do we get concrete, comparable measurements of progress that satisfy auditors or regulators based just on the taste?
So how do organizations deal with these limitations?
Well, the common solution to many of these points is often a hybrid approach, using the CSF for strategic direction and communication, but complementing it with more prescriptive controls like the CIS controls for specific technical guidance, or mapping to ISO 27001 for auditability, or using NIST SP 853 for deep control specification where needed. And of course, NIST is consistently working on updates, releasing supplementary guidance, and engaging with the community to address these evolving gaps. It's not static. ###############################################################################################################################################################################################################################################################################################################################################################################################
adapting. So what's on the horizon for the CSF? How will it continue to evolve and adapt to our ever-changing digital world, especially with these incredibly fast-moving emerging technologies like AI and quantum computing looming large?
The CSF is undeniably a living document, and NIST is constantly looking forward, engaging with stakeholders globally to anticipate future needs. A major future direction is its continued focus on addressing emerging technologies. NIST's ongoing efforts already include developing comprehensive AI risk management frameworks, with updates to its SP 800-218 series on secure software development likely incorporating AI considerations. They're also actively exploring the complex realm of AI ethics, with emerging requests for information expected in 2025 to gather broader input on how frameworks should address this.
So AI is definitely on their radar.
Yeah.
What about quantum?
Quantum 2. Looking further ahead, predictions for a potential CSF version 3.0, maybe around 2026 or later, suggest it will more explicitly integrate critical concepts like quantum-resistant cryptography, QRC, and advanced zero-trust architectures as these transition from cutting-edge to mainstream necessities. The framework's inherent outcome-focused design is actually a significant strength here, as it provides the necessary flexibility to address risks from technologies that don't even exist yet, by focusing on the desired secure outcomes rather than specific technical fixes that might become obsolete.
And broader adoption, is it still growing?
Yes, we're likely to see even broader global and sectoral adoption. The CSF's global influence may rise further through official translations, such as the anticipated Mandarin version in 2025, opening it up to a wider international audience and fostering more global alignment. There will be continued development of even more granular sector-specific frameworks or profiles. For example, a draft for transit cybersecurity, tailored for transportation infrastructure like subways and rail, is expected by August 2025. Furthermore, due to increasing regulatory demands, particularly from directives like the SEC's new cybersecurity disclosure rules in the U.S., the CSF will likely place an even greater emphasis on standardized reporting and demonstrably proving effective risk management to various stakeholders, including regulators and investors.
So more focus on showing your work, essentially.
Pretty much. But ultimately, the most significant and enduring future direction is its role in fostering a continual cycle of improvement. The CSF fundamentally reframes cybersecurity not as a one-off technical project to be completed, but as an ongoing strategic business function. The systematic process of creating profiles, assessing tiers, and meticulously planning actions inherently fosters a continuous cycle of assessment, communication, and enhancement. It's about building a robust, adaptive muscle for resilience within the organization.
That's a truly powerful concept, building a muscle for adaptability in the face of constant change. Not just building a wall, but building the ability to rebuild or adapt the wall as needed.
Indeed. And this raises an important question for everyone listening. In a world of constant, accelerating change, where the threats are always evolving, how do we ensure our defenses aren't just reacting, but are always one step ahead, or at least strategically positioned to adapt quickly? The CSF's enduring value lies not just in its specific guidelines or its detailed categories, but in its profound philosophical approach. It provides that common language for organizations of all shapes and sizes to understand, manage, and communicate risk. It enables them to confidently navigate an increasingly complex and unpredictable digital world. It gives them the framework to learn and evolve their own security posture, rather than just implementing a static checklist and hoping for the best. Hashtag outro.
So, what does this all mean for you, the well-informed listener? The NIST Cybersecurity Framework 2.0 isn't just another dry document or a bureaucratic guideline you have to check off. It's a living blueprint for navigating the digital unknown, empowering you and your organization to build real, tangible resilience. We've traced its remarkable evolution from a critical infrastructure directive to a truly universal guide. We've dissected the strategic, game-changing importance of the new govern function, explored the clarity that profiles and tiers bring to understanding and managing risk, and highlighted its proven, measurable impact across incredibly diverse sectors. Its core strength lies in being that voluntary, flexible, and outcome-driven guide for digital resilience that adapts as quickly as the threats themselves.
It's a powerful framework for strategic thinking, shifting the conversation from just technical minutia to real business impact and long-term viability.
So we want to leave you with this provocative thought. In an increasingly interconnected and rapidly changing world, where does your organization truly stand on the maturity spectrum of cybersecurity? Think about those tiers. And, maybe more importantly, what single next step could you take, leveraging the insights from the CSF, maybe just one subcategory, to significantly reduce your exposure to the threats of tomorrow? How can you start building your organizational muscle for adaptability?
To help you answer that and embark on that journey, we strongly encourage you to explore the official NIST site. It's packed with resources.
That's right. Head over to nist.gov cyberframework. That's nist.gov/cyberframework. You'll find the very latest resources, those incredibly helpful quick start guides, especially for smaller businesses, and even more implementation examples and community profiles. Use this deep dive not just as information, but as a robust starting point for your own journey toward enhanced digital resilience. We hope this deep dive has given you a clearer map for navigating the complex cybersecurity landscape. Until next time, stay curious, and most importantly, stay secure.